Welcome to the Spill Street Podcast. Today we're going to have a very special episode for all of my art lovers. We're going to be talking about what's it like to run an art gallery with none other than Mr. Charles Duvall. Charles is the showroom manager at LEFTBANK Art here in Atlanta, Georgia, and he's going to help us digest some of this information today. Charles, how you doing, my brother?
I'm great, bro. Everyone's good. How about you?
I'm feeling well. I'm feeling well. So, before we go ahead and dive deep in it, man, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and how did you get into the fine art industry?
Yeah, I'm from Baltimore originally, and I started working with area rugs of all things. And somehow a change of events brought me back to Atlanta, seeking other things. And I stayed in the rug industry, but I did that for like 17 years. But in the building that I worked, there was always art. So it was always this thing of when you start an interior design project,
Uh-huh.
are you starting with the rug, or are you going to start with the art? So that's how I got to art. So after leaving rugs, I figured that if the rug is your fifth wall, then obviously then you're going to start with your art. So that's how I shifted.
Okay, okay, I like that. Now, besides your role as the showroom manager at Left Bank, and we know that y'all are marketing to a lot of interior designers. But besides from your role as show manager, what would you say inspires you most about the fine art industry and keeping you in it?
It's really seeing what artists are doing as what they want to submit to us, because they'll get inspired and we'll do things first before you see it really on the retail side. So these artists that come in, they'll come in, hey, can I submit my artwork to you guys? Because we love working with artists, and that's what we seek those clients out. But when they come to us, it's a blessing, because then maybe we're missing something that we have not seen. And uh, I always find that those are the ones that we usually take on because they show the initiative.
Okay, okay, I like that. So speaking of art galleries, right? You know, a lot of people are okay. So a lot of people are wanting to get into the fine art space from many different places, but everybody isn't around or living in areas where fine art may be popular or acknowledged as much. So I want to ask you this: y'all are in Atlanta, you know, so we already know Atlanta is like what Black Hollywood. So for people who may be living in the outskirts in some places, how important would you say the location of an art gallery is, and what factors should one consider, regardless of what location they're in, if they're wanting to start, if they're wanting to open up their own fine art gallery, essentially?
I don't think that's necessarily an issue. It's I would think of if you gotta think about your demographic of who wants what. Like I know for the art company that I represent, um, in this region, a lot of traditional art will go, right? And so
Mhm.
the mindset, I have a person that's up in Blue Ridge now that has she's got all these pinks and bright yellows, and you would think in that area because you got a lot of hunters, very masculine driven landscapes, but she's doing very well. So I think
Right.
it's on the individual, on the personality that you're giving, for the demographic that you connect with. And then meaning whereas it could be people that are very happy. So then therefore people in a big sunny area are gonna probably want bright colors, something like that
Hmm.
that will accent their home. So I just think just think about who your audience is.
Okay, so I like how you said that. So it's like, regardless of where you are, and that does make sense because everybody, wherever you go, does have some type of like artsy something going on, whether it's through their landscape or within their home. So that does make a lot of sense. Now, another thing that people are wanting to consider are regulations. Now, besides the standard zoning laws of, making sure that, this place is properly zoned for you to open up an art gallery, what are some other legal regulatory considerations that aspiring art gallery owners should consider when opening up an art gallery?
I can go from experience of a friend that I know who recently moved from one
Mhm.
store to next in this new store. So she had a really long wall, and I think the issues that they were truly having is if you had enough arting on the wall properly, if it's like distance from the top to the bottom. Uh,
Mhm.
I know some people don't realize that when you display an art, you can utilize the maximum space of the ceiling. Some people may want to just, if you're limited with what you have, then obviously you want everything at eye level. But for those that are, um, if you have an eclectic collection of different art and you're trying to show it, um, I think when you do show it to your clients, just don't make it look like it's schizophrenia in a sense. You want people to kind of think where they could see that in the setting rather than being.
Right.
That's usually the best thing I've always come across with a lot of interior designers and those that own stores. You want to tell a color story where people can read into it or imagine where that would.
Okay, okay, I like that. All right, so speaking of the art, right? We already know there is no art gallery without an artist, like period. You know, if you don't have an artist, you don't have any designers, you know, you pretty much don't have an art gallery in general. And you know, we all know artists come in different sizes, shapes, colors, personalities. Some artists are easy to work with, some artists are difficult to work with, depending on where you are. So I'm just curious in your and within your experience, how do you go about finding artists and establishing relationships with them to get inside the gallery?
All right, so they come in two different ways, in my experience. One, you have people that would actually submit their artwork to you,
Mhm.
or where they want to show. I've seen some people actually done plenty of art parties where you would actually get a collective mind of others that are like-minded, more of a group. So artists kind of do stick together in groups, and they would actually throw an event where it'd be amongst themselves, and they would sponsor everything, and then they'll reap all the benefits off the money for that. Or whereas if there is for us being a gallery, for the wholesale, we would have those artists internally that have done things for us and let them show their things. And we're saying those that are probably like we have a couple that are licensees that already have been successful. They have shows, but because they're doing this event, now they want to show the newest art that they have, but it's not in production yet. But now they want
Mhm.
to. So then you have that push where it's actually sponsored from a bigger source. But independently, I would see an artist will jump together to do an event depending on where it is,
Mhm.
availability, or how big of a gathering you want to have, and if it's smaller, usually it's more intimate. I've seen that they'll some
Mhm.
artists plan things out like maybe 2 months in advance.
Okay. So like so essentially you're pretty much networking with artists like through the event space first and through the event space, then that's how they're pretty much getting inside the gallery.
Yes.
Okay, got you, got you, got you. Okay, so speaking of event space, we know curating, you know, art exhibitions is something that happens often. Most art galleries are doing exhibitions, I would say, at least once a month. One thing that's very, very interesting to me, or that at least I would have a question about, living here in Atlanta, and I'm pretty sure a lot of other artists would be interested in this question, is how important is diversity in an art gallery, especially in a predominantly black city like Atlanta, where you may have like a lot of different street artists, then you may have a lot of, you know, different traditional contemporary artists, you know, coming from other states. How do y'all go about diversity?
Uh, I can come from you as a company standpoint. So internally,
Mhm.
um, a lot of our artists are do great create black art. It's wonderful. Um,
Mhm.
but there was a push inside to say, hey, look, we really need real authentic art, black artists to create black art because some of the box stores would like
Mhm.
to have this. So basically, if we're showing art and it's truly to it, and if someone did an investigation, well, this is really authentic as much as we want it to be. So we
Mhm.
started bringing on interior designers that actually did art and
Mhm.
artists that do black art, solely
Mhm.
that yes, the work that we do is authentic, even though a lot of it's made from other people of different
Mhm.
races. Um, I always get the question: do you want literally black figures in art, or do you want art made by black people like ourselves? And
Right.
um, I always got a mixed message because I don't want to
Uh,
show anything. We don't want to show anything that has adinkuras or anything that's very
right.
ethnic, that's devil in your audience, or even with the figures itself. But to be honest, just as long as they feel like they're getting something from that traffic, then it helps in all ways.
Okay. Now, I want to touch on something you just said with interior designers, right? So, and it's not just Left Bank Art that's working with a lot of interior designers. I've been talking to a lot of art gallery owners, and for some reason, like most art gallery are like tending to market or not market, but their biggest clientele are the interior designers, right? So when it comes to marketing and promotion, is there a strategy to attract a specific purchaser, or are y'all just marketing to like the mass majority of the community, and what everybody is getting back is these interior designers?
It would be everyone that's in the industry, that's like the home industry. So those that are say
Hmm.
this could be originals, watercolors, it could reproductions. Um, is a lot of those are manufacturers. They don't want to step on the toes of those who are buying from them. So
Hmm.
for instance, we don't want to compete with Home Depot if they're buying from us, or if they're using
Right.
goods. And some people say, well, this looks like that. This looks like that brand. This looks like that brand. You can associate anything with any brand. It's still one manufacturer they could be coming from. It's probably they may be their biggest client. So what they'll market to first are actually the stores. The stores
Hmm.
go ahead and then market to the public what new art they have, or
Hmm.
the oh gosh, the dumpster. What's
Hmm.
the dump, right? And
Yeah.
but all this stuff may be at a great price, even if it's originals, whatever. Then they'll market to everyone else. The manufacturer will never market anything to their source, even if it's original or if it's a reproduction.
Okay, that makes sense. I've heard something similar to that before. So in the networking space, what are some tips that you would give for building a strong network of artists, collectors, and enthusiasts? Especially like with based on what you just said, like you don't want to step on the toes of Home Depot or any other big people that you would be possibly marketing or selling to. So like just in a general broad networking scope, how would you go about building a strong network with the collectors, the artists, the enthusiasts in this industry?
To be honest with you, cocktail parties kind of do make a difference of coming to when you
Right.
go, and not saying that alcohol is usually involved, but I usually feel that
Right.
when you connect with people at these parties, with
Hmm.
just a little the chit chat, and it's almost like you're doing a fellowship, almost if you're in church or whatever. Why it's so important to be around other people, and
Hmm.
it's solely because you don't have to like what a person does.
Right.
You may, but on a different schedule. At least if level, if you're going to talk with them, see where their mind is, and you'll
Hmm.
people, and when you start going to these events, now you have a team of people. Hey, oh, I really like here. I like this and that. Now at this point, you're making friends on a casual level. Uh,
Hmm. Hmm.
so that to me, that's the best that I've seen everyone.
Okay, that makes sense too, man. Because at the last, well, before I went to the last art exhibit that I went to, I actually met with a art gallery owner, and I was conversing with him about just pretty much just some standard making some content. And the first thing he said was, "Well, come to the art gallery, man. Just hang out, have a drink." And then we'll go from there. And it's like I noticed, like, okay, so this is how they go about making relationships in this industry. So that makes perfect sense what you're saying right there. All right, so I want to get into like the financial considerations a little bit, right? Of course, it takes money to make money. You got to put, something into these things. So, what are the typical costs associated with starting an art gallery? And how can people ensure financial stability during very dark financial moments?
Now that's probably an area that I may not have the most expertise in.
Okay.
Uh, Thus, not having a physical store, I really couldn't give you an idea of that.
Okay, cool. Let's move on. So how about adapting to trends and changes? So how does an art gallery stay relevant? with different trends such as digital art becoming a thing, or street art or graffiti becoming more of a thing when you look at people like Banksy, perhaps.
Um, so to really stay relevant of anything, so for us, we would drive things on social media, especially like
Hmm.
Instagram. Um,
Hmm.
or you may see some things on television. So that would be another thing why
Okay.
what a huge part with our community is if you have funded art that they can use in film and you can easily sign off
Hmm.
for them to use, you'll get your name out there that way. The top thing that I've seen a lot of people take away with art is they want something that has texture with it,
Right.
or something that's like 3D. And
Hmm.
wow factors are, believe it or not, are your metallics. If you have gold or silver, um,
Hmm.
believe it or not, white and origami. So um, you may like, you know how like they take the sheets
Hmm.
and ruffle them, and then now it's a piece of art because now they're stiff.
Right.
And
Right.
so that's really where the trend is going. It's just something that people haven't seen, something avant-garde. So something you don't really see want to show. What we even make things pop is they'll use probably a different wall color for psychology
Right. Right. Right.
to make something work, that could have been mundane or could have been old, and they just flipped it over and
Hmm.
gave it that.
Okay, that makes sense. Okay, so kind of staying on that a little bit. So, as changes are occurring, times are consistently changing, like before our eyes. How do y'all overcome changes? Well, the challenges of changes, at the gallery.
Um, it's okay. So for us, locations is everything. So
Hmm.
recently, if you in our building, if you don't feel secure, then what's the point of even coming down? It would make you pay for parking and do all these whatnots.
Right, right.
So obviously, offering free parking is a great thing. Valley parking is another thing we do offer. Um, if you are trying to pull, certain colors because people are going with the trend, uh,
Hmm.
you would try to pull
Hmm.
up like stuff that you have to push that more because we can
Hmm.
do everything. So we try everything what's best like in a season prior or 6 months out. So like now, um,
Hmm.
I'm going to be showing next month for a gallery. I'm showing everything
Hmm.
for winter now.
Hmm. Hmm.
So we try to
Okay.
get at the holidays, at least.
Okay. So, okay, I want to go back to something you said, right? It sounds like you're very conscious of how the community is going to interact. So, when it comes to community engagement, how do you engage with the local community, and contribute to the cultural scene, especially here in, Black Hollywood?
Um, all right. So funny thing is, um, a lot of my clients that I come across, and I would just simply say, there's a lot of Black interior designers that come in, um, and sometimes looking from the outside in, they do get ignored a lot. And
Uh-huh.
so we try to market to them in a lot of ways where we'll bring in Black art or things that have themed with clients that would seem more likely to go towards, say, that's more ethnic. And
Hmm.
they'll come to us at times and say, hey, look, we have an event like Egypt's art has an event going on. And I'm just simply saying, oh, but she's filmed the show. Okay, well, we need art for this one. So most times, if you guys are having an event, either we will um, loan you art to use if need be for your project, uh,
Hmm.
to help fill in for other artists you have, and we would do originals at that, so that you're
Hmm.
not at the short end, or you could rent items if need be, just to show for your space, just say, hey, look, I don't have this right now, and I want to show something things that they could do, um,
Hmm.
to help their business because now
Hmm.
has a voice, like say that are bigger, they have a bigger following. And this
Hmm.
is for them if we're able to do that. But that's only on a small scale how we can assist our clients.
Hmm.
If they need push from us without putting our name out there.
Mhm. It's okay. It's crazy. Like, okay, being from Atlanta and living out here, right? It's funny. Like Black interior designers often get overlooked that much.
to be honest with you, the handful that I come across, and
Uh-huh.
they get the business,
Okay, okay, okay.
but
So they get the money, but not the praise is
but
what you're going for.
because I see a lot more of them where I work at, but and I know we are heavyweights. So then, but what as they say, I did a seminar with Michelle Boyd Smith,
Okay.
and we were talking. As we were talking, I said our topic was budget art with a client, and he says this
Mm,
is usually should be 15% of your budget. You just think about how it's getting there, how it's being hung, all these other things that he needed to have. And then eventually we were saying it's just like a lot of clients want to question all that you're doing because they don't see the back stuff what you're doing. So now we
yeah.
cost so much. It says you can get it at a great cost, but it's the other stuff that we don't see.
Mm,
Is your installer going to be on time doing it? Are you going to start? Are you
mm,
do you know how to do it?
mm,
The artist, and then your client behind you is
mm.
going, "What's taking so long?" So
Right,
then
right.
those are kind of things that are hidden that we never see behind. And
Got you,
so
got you.
tell me, hey, I'm not making much money because now they're taking money being taken from other things they allotted for themselves, but that having the right people sometimes to work
Mm,
can cost money.
right, right. Okay, I definitely see what you're talking about with that, man. So we touched on a good amount today, and I know you got to go, so we're about to wrap it up in a minute. Just got a few more questions. Um, Where do you see the future of art galleries going as we enter into this, new digital tech era age? And that's like for artists, the people that's hosting these galleries. Like, where do you see this thing going with how technology is going at this point?
I it helps. It's actually a driving force now
Mm-hmm.
um I've seen where, for instance, that a client that came in, they did a lot of photography,
Uh huh.
and his work was exceptional. And we came to him and say, hey, well, we like your work, but we want to change up just a little bit, make it a little bit funky. And they came back, digitally put some stuff on top of it. He was very simple, and it made the artwork pop. So uh,
Mm-hmm.
digital stuff, as long as it's not completely changing what you're doing, you could,
Right.
like, we're customized, then we could change the colors or add colors to your art if
Mm-hmm.
we
Mm-hmm.
expand. Um, we just can't make any new designs based on what's already made. Um,
Right. Right.
Seeing that digital stuff is actually implemented into art, um,
Right.
layering and effect. So you do have a base. So basically, it is here to stay. It's
Mm-hmm.
not it's not going to go away because as long as we can do anything digitally, we can quickly change someone's color of the art or
Mm-hmm.
elongate it to stretch it out, like Google does. But
Mm-hmm.
never. But you still own the rights to it. It's just to be another version of what you've already created.
Okay, that makes sense. That's now I will be honest, just for the people listening. I don't want y'all to think I'm fake or nothing like that. That is a very different answer than what I would get from a lot of different curators and other art gallery owners who pretty much value more original artwork. But the way you put it does make a little bit more sense, especially for like a creative like myself. Like most of my canvas prints that I'll print out are digitized. And for me, of course, I'm not a painter, but for me, as somebody who enjoys art and likes to create, that's a lot easier. So I would say that I can relate to what you just said, of how you broke that down. And just a few more questions here. What advice would you give, Charles, for people who are considering starting their art gallery or just getting into the fine art space as a curator, even?
I would say just talk with those that are displaying, talk with the artists, see what
Mhm,
struggles that they've had. Um, Look at events that are going on that may show artists on a different level.
mhm,
Different art that I've come with different artists, and I myself
mhm,
am. Um, I've my starting myself. I it's always word of mouth with other artists. I remember I was doing an event where I went from showing small gallery to showing multiple people and there were different people, different genres,
Yeah.
uh, doing things, and um, it took me to a different stage because now that I'm really out, people of different sects are seeing what I'm doing. So just visit all these different galleries that's going on, something that piques your interest. Even if you're in a different city, just do your
Mm,
travel. Art's loved everywhere. Um,
right.
so wherever you can. But if in a tasteful space, you just kind of want to see what works for you.
Okay, man. I like that. I definitely agree. And people, you got to start somewhere. I would also like to add to that a little bit and say, start on a on a micro level. Try to start on a micro level. If you're, especially if you're a student, I would say, getting some of your, if you go to SCAD and, you're in a classroom with artists or, digital artists, I would say start putting a show together with them. And then, perhaps make you a Facebook group, then start offering people in this Facebook group to want to participate in the show and just go on and on. Now you're working your way up to your spaces with these people at these galleries. From these galleries, you go into these people who throw in all of these art events. From all of these art events, you eventually get yourself involved with some people who are at the museums. But it all starts with starting small. That's something that I would like to add to people. I've seen a lot of people, go from zero to hero just from starting small, and the biggest thing is starting, period. So, never give up on that, ladies and gentlemen. And before we close it out, Charles, is there any other things that you would like to share about running an art gallery for the viewers?
I guess whatever it is you display, just display what it is from your heart and why you like something. Because you always someone will ask you, "What do you think of this?" Ask them what
Mm-hmm.
to see because they'll always see something different. Or
Mm-hmm.
ask them what is about that movie about this. I think this is always something the best engagement with any client. See where their heart is because they don't we don't see the thing from each other. But I've always liked to know where somebody goes when they see a piece of art and how it makes them feel,
Right.
regardless of
Absolutely.
about it. Never to trump a sale, but you know what? Beauty is in the eye of the beholder, as they always say.
Yeah. Absolutely, man. Charles, where can our listeners go to keep up with the original, artwork from Left Bank, and where can all of the interior designers go to check you out as well?
Sure. So you'll find us downtown at the America's Mart for Atlanta, Georgia. Um, we are in Building 1, or Space 13D6, and we're always having originals and reproduction art.
Okay, perfect, perfect. And also, I'm going to drop that in the description below, ladies and gentlemen, so you definitely will be able to get the directions to Left Bank Art, as well as where you can reach Charles at online, as well as Left Bank. And before we get out of here, Charles, I just got a few more announcements for the people. Ladies and gentlemen, before you leave, please hit the like and subscribe button if you're watching this on YouTube. If you are on Spotify, go ahead and subscribe on Spotify. For those of you interested in purchasing property in Atlanta and you need a realtor, click the new buyers and sellers link in the description below. Leave your email and your phone number, and I will be getting back to you ASAP. And until next episode, ladies and gentlemen, always remember to spread positivity, information, love, and light. We out. Peace.